see the clouds trying to block the sun, but that's okay. We're not gonna let it stop the shine. So I can still see it anyway. So it's really not that effective at blocking anything. But I wanted to discuss or elaborate on this particular comment about drones and the use of um, drones for surveillance purposes, because there was a comment that was left on my page about COINTEL program, the COINTEL program, where you get paid to surveil and report back to particular agencies. So I wanted to elaborate on this particular comment because recently, after this comment, I went and checked out the movie War of the Worlds with Ice Cube, and I've seen a lot of discussion about it, amongst people, and they was kind of, bashing Ice Cube for his poor acting skills, and that's up to that's people's personal opinion about the way that a person acts. So I went and checked it out for myself, and when you get into it, you find out that you would think that it's an alien invasion, and it's more than just an alien invasion. I believe that the movie was based off of a book about alien invasions, but it came in the form of data mining and trying to gain information, pertaining to people, and you got insight into certain agencies that were conducting illegal surveillance and invasion of privacy. So in that movie in itself, you also seen that there's the use of drones and also the use of CCTV to monitor and surveil people, through those particular channels. But getting into the comment, it stated, is from Man I Am 91. He stated that, bro, they even use drones to follow me all night. On my other YouTube page, I have videos, 5 through 10 drones every night. People tried to tell me they're commercial flights. That's a form of gaslighting, to tell people, or people might even know, that those aren't commercial flights. But to say that his suspicion about them being drones, they're just commercial flights. Don't pay them any attention. But I told him, righteous, he should look into professional drone pilots and why they are important. Because there was a time when I came across drone pilot operators and the necessity for them, and how much their salary was, and you would think, why is it such a a lucrative field or occupation, surrounding the use of drones. So we did hear when Obama was in office that they was going to be incorporating drones, and I guess he stated, jokingly, but unjokingly, killer drones, and you know, that is something that has been recorded, and being that it's been recorded, you can't escape or undermine that fact, that they're going to be incorporating drones, whether now or in the near future. But as we see that they are being used now, and then there's reports of people that's being, surveilled by drones. This is a particular person. He has a page, and is Journeyman, 9-1, and when there's people that you know share insight, as one that experiences um, what you call gang stalking or being a target, you always check out those that come to check you out. This is the reason why I tell you that I don't look for people to subscribe to me, because there's always going to be people that subscribe to you anyway. So as you see, you go and check these people out, to see the authenticity of them. So you would see that this isn't something or somebody that's just created an account yesterday and then they come flock to your page. So he seems like a genuine person. So as you can see, you subscribe, and then you check their comment out. You check their content, and you know you can get a understanding of who or what the particular person is. But this is kind of like the first time of you actually going through their content, but yeah, you can see what type of information that they have, pertaining to their experiences with what you want to call gang stalking, and or being under a certain surveillance. So with that, you wanted to Freemasons within my family and neighborhood. What I don't know is where my mom and step pops come in. I know all my sibling mother and step pops have shown me and told me in so many ways they are against me and are involved in this whole gang stalking mess I'm dealing with. So that's people are are who they are. In this particular video, I haven't checked this out, but this is from 2 years ago as well. So I'll probably check it out some other time. You know, support. We are targeted individuals that we targeted and have to stand up for each other. The other side already against us. Why not come together? Absolutely. There should always be a network of people, together, as opposed to standing alone, as a targeted individual. You should, come up with a means of unifying and multiplying your power, because as you become one that speaks out against any kind of illegal or maltreatment especially when it's, done by a certain group, and that group can be pinpointed, then I believe the more people that you have that can side with you, because you know that there's people that are actually siding against you, then the more people that you have that can come together, the more impact you will have collectively. But again, we stated that there's always going to be those with um, the false victim syndrome that aren't really targeted, or don't really have a reason to be targeted, to claim that they are target. And these particular people will um, dilute or weaken that structure, because they really don't have. I'm not saying they really don't have, but they have maybe a narcissistic approach to wanting to be included in certain things. So they would take a selfish approach to it. So this is the reason why a lot of people are proclaiming to be these particular things, but actually are not. But August 29th is National Targeted Individual Day. So in order for you to have a day for targeted individuals, you have to be, or have to acknowledge the existence of targeted individuals. And because there's an existence of it, you wouldn't want to do away with it, because there's a necessity for you to acknowledge and celebrate certain things. Some people parade their targeted status around as though it's a badge of honor. And some, like I said, they take a personal or a possessive attachment to it. It's mine. This is who I am. So that's another discussion for us to have. About the ownership of this particular terminology, and why people seek ownership of it. There was people with names with that in their name. But we wanted to get into what's being stated here. So I told him to look into professional drone pilots and why they are important. And he stated that I'll check into it, but even when I leave my car and phone at home, they still have these drones circling me. And you also told him to be mindful of facial recognition technology in surveillance cameras. So, these aren't conspiracy theories. What was a topic or something that came up in the movie War of the World. And there was someone that had, well, you don't want to give away the movie. If anybody hasn't seen it, you don't really want to give out too much detail about it, because this is still a relatively new movie, and a lot of people haven't seen it. But just giving you the detail of what it is about. It's information and mining, and a lot of these things that's discussed will come up in that particular movie. And you'll see the use of drones, and you'll see the use of CCTV cameras, and being descriptive of a people. It can pinpoint and locate people with information about the particular individual. So with these particular that particular technology, and why it's incorporated is because um, what you want to call governmental surveillance or governmental spying. This goes with the Department of Homeland Security, and just today, the Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security and all these particular agencies are all connected with each other. And you just heard a statement that Trump was rebranding or renaming the Department of Defense the Department of War. You know, so war is not something that a healing country is trying, a healing nation or a healing people is trying to shy away from. It is something that people are going to be vested in because this became the nature of people. So war is a part of the mentality of humanity, is a part of their existence. And it's another movie that I wanted to talk about where war became a part of their being, and it had led to the destruction of civilizations before them. That's the movie The 100. If anybody hasn't seen that, you can go and check that out, because it has a lot of information pertaining to historical events and actions that were detrimental to humanity and the existence of humanity at particular times. And yeah, I want to elaborate about that, because as you get into the that show, you start to see that people have a knack for war. They became so fascinated and fixated with war. If they wasn't at war, then they felt as though they wasn't living. So out of that, you would have the saying, pain allows you to know that you're alive. Come on, dog. And that's how you would take war. War allows you to know that you're living. So yeah, I'll talk about that probably a little bit later. But that's going into the COINTEL program and how information is used in is is taken to create or disrupt or misdirect or otherwise neutralize particular groups or individuals. So that was going into that particular you know video that I had uploaded on the COINTEL program. So that was his input. So what I wanted to share was the actual governmental jobs, and how you can just find drone pilot jobs, and what they are used for. So here you have the UAV pilot jobs with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. They give you a description of what the job entails, right here. So you do know that it is very important. It's important work as far as, the job. You have schedule 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, and the salary level that you are able to reach. You know, benefits, life insurance, health insurance with the option for vision and dental, thrift savings plans which operate similarly to 401k, long-term care. So it's a legitimate job, and it is one with a growing demand. And you can read the description. It's unmanned aerial vehicles are a growing part of the nation's defense strategy. As the guardian of the country's borders, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has implemented the Predator B unmanned aircraft system to prevent the unauthorized entry of terrorists, criminals, and undocumented immigrants. So these two terms is one that, raises concern with, the general public, or with the populace. It, terrorists and criminals, and terrorists and criminals, those terms would raise the brow of any, concerned citizen, and believe that, these are, requirements for upholding or maintaining peace. And, when I spoke about, 9/11 and the terrorist attacks of I guess Bin Laden, and that gave way for there to be laws surrounding, terrorism and acts of violence, or criminal acts, and they create jobs and allow, the citizens to, vote on these particular laws that are passed because of acts that they seen displayed to them on TV. Whether it's a terrorist attack, or a random regular guy, shooting up a school or a church, or somewhere where there's regular people that attends, that frequent, places in the public. So these acts become grounds for carrying out, or creating laws, and these laws create jobs for certain sectors, like Department of Homeland Security and Department of Defense. So you have to be watchful of why certain actions happen, and what the purpose is behind them. So, Customs and Border Protection, CBP, currently maintains and operates a fleet of 8 Predator B aircrafts from its bases in Florida, Texas, Arizona, and North Dakota, but it is the process of adding to this number to widen its operational effectiveness. Under its current program, 2 pilots are assigned the operation of each Predator B. So we do know that this is a legitimate thing. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not an imaginative thing. So when you have a particular watch list, you will have people that are required to be monitored and surveilled, whether these are actual criminals or terrorists. They are, amongst those that would be surveilled, and followed, for whatever case it may be, whatever it is that they're you know being being watched for, you know. So we do see that, there's CCTV cameras that can record information. Here we have an actual picture of what it's like when, this is the war of the world, and here's Ice Cube, and he's monitoring his daughter, and from everywhere that she goes, he's being able to record and get information about her whereabouts. It even had him being able to see inside of her refrigerator, through smart TV, through the smart refrigerators. So everything that has a Wi-Fi or IP address is able to be hacked, and you can use that to surveil a particular people. So we have the IP address tracker. Here, if you can't see it, then let me show you. You know, in this particular corner, right here, it has how it's able to track an IP address, and the particular antagonist in this movie is one they call the disruptor. So a disruptor would be anybody that knows the truth and pose a threat to exposing classified and sensitive information to the public. Not that the public is one that takes the side of anyone that's providing information, but because there's the possibility of them protesting against these underhanded tactics that's used to gain or gather intel about a people. So if there's a program that elicits information and it's used to gain access to any and everything and all online activity, then there's nothing that you do that is actually private, then you may protest that as a violation of privacy. But again, certain actions or events create laws that restrict more and more rights, being that they conflict with each other. So because there can be citizens amongst you that are on a terrorist watch list, that means that gives the agency, whichever one it is, the right to surveil and watch all citizens, because any and every citizen can be a particular terrorist. So you do see that CCTV is a technology that's everywhere you look, everywhere you go. This is inside of a store. It's recording information. And if you look here, there's information about the person. There's information about any and every location that a person frequents, and this isn't something that is far fetched. This isn't something that it's not known. This is something that's known, and you do see that, you know. And then we also have what you want to call um, flock cameras, you know, flock cameras. You know, flock cameras. These are AI powered license plate readers, you know, and that capture vehicle license plate and other distinguishing features, sending the data to central server for analysis and used by property owners or law enforcement to solve crimes and monitor parking. These solar powered LTE connected devices are designed for ease of installation and provide a scalable, proactive tool for enhancing safety and security by providing actionable evidence. You know, so these cameras that you probably never paid attention to, they don't just record, you know, the actual cars. They store information on a server, and at any given time the information can be retrieved and used to solve crimes or even to prevent crimes, you know. So, you know, capture data. The cameras such as Flock's Falcon and Sparrow models photograph the rear of all passing vehicles. AI analysis. Artificial intelligence analyze the capture license plate and other visual characteristics like vehicle color or size to identify patterns. Central server. This information is sent to a central server via cellular network. Evidence and alerts. Data can be searched in real time and users can receive alerts for specific vehicles on a custom hot list. Who uses them? Law enforcement, to help identify vehicle and license plates associated with crimes and to retrieve evidence to solve cases. Private communities and businesses, to enhance security, deter crime, and to manage parking. Key features is solar powered and LTE connected, enables placement in various locations without needing utility connections or complex IT infrastructures. No facial recognition. Flock cameras do not use facial recognition technology, focusing solely on vehicle data. So that is a claim, you know, that they don't use facial recognition technology. But if this is, you know, advanced technology with AI incorporated, you know, the inclusion of facial recognition technology is kind of hassle free, you know, because facial recognition technology is based off of AI. And scalable and proactive, offers a flexible solution for communities and businesses proactively deter crime and improve safety. You know, there's the improved safety. You know, you have the trade-off, the privacy for safety. You know, data sharing. Owners can choose to share their camera data with local law enforcement to aid in criminal investigations. This is for, you know, private owners. Crime prevention. Help prevent crime by creating a record of vehicles and their movement. So the coming and going of a particular vehicle and the frequent or how much a particular vehicle frequents a particular area gives them a record of how the vehicle is being used. You know, if a vehicle frequents a drug area, it's giving them a database and a record of how many times this particular vehicle visited this particular location. So it is for that reason that the cameras store data on a particular server. And evidence collection, provides objectives, timestamp vehicle data to help law enforcement and property owners investigate incidents. Increase visibility, enhances visibility and monitoring in communities and at the key entry and exit points. So it monitors when a particular car enters, and it monitors when a particular car exits. Parking management can be used to enforce parking rules and manage vehicles access effectively. So, that is, you know, purposes or use cases of the flock cameras, but they're, leaving out certain other information that may be, kind of incriminating to the agencies that use them, because it actually is a violation of privacy, because it more than monitors the coming and going of a car. It actually can see inside the car. Like I said, they left out the no facial recognition, but they don't tell you about the recording of voices, the conversations, the private conversations you have in your car, and these things aren't they aren't legal. For your private conversations to be recorded and stored on a particular server, and can be used at any given time, for investigational purposes, So, that's just something that you wanted to share, about this particular movie. If you want to go and check it out, you could. It's War of the World. And you'll see Ice Cube reading text messages. You'll see Ice Cube even responding to text messages illegally, bypassing passwords, and but like I said, you don't really want to give too much of the movie away, because a lot of people probably haven't seen it yet. But it's not a movie that should be disregarded, or this not looked at, especially by a group of people that wonder how the surveillance works. And I'm giving you the site that I normally watch, and yeah, that is just what it is, So that's that's that. You wanted to share that because like you stated, there was a comment that was shared with you about drones and the use of drones to surveil and to put a person at disease or uneasy or uncomfortable feeling of being watched. And the best thing is to, if you know that this is something that happens or occurs frequently, and it doesn't seem that it's ceasing anytime soon, just ignore it. That is the best solution for that. Don't even acknowledge it. Just continue to go about your day and do things as you normally would do. Don't let them be a disruptor of your peace. And that is one thing that I've learned that is beneficial to you in any kind of conflict you may have with these agencies. They gear or feed off of fear, and they have a need or a knack for a response, and the less you respond to them, you know, is, you know, detrimental, is more effective to you having the upper hand against them. It weakens their surveillance, it weakens their attack on your psychological attacks, or a spiritual attack. It weakens all of that if you just drones out there, you know. Okay, I see a drone, you know, even wave at the drone, you know, wink your eye at the drone, you know, but you know, just acknowledging that that you know, you're aware of, you know, the particular um, drone or whatever it is, you know, even the cameras, you know, like I stated before, that, you know, when you walk past a particular area, you hear, hi, you are on camera or something like that. But there's other people that I've seen walk past before me, and I didn't hear that. But then when I walk by, it states, hi, you are on camera or something like that. It's weird that you don't hear that for that person, but as soon as you get close to it, you hear, hey, you're on camera. And this happens a lot, especially, you know, with me. But I do know that everywhere I go, for you know, there's cameras there, and I know that they have facial recognition. So, being that I know that, you know, it doesn't bother me. You know, you know, they might, you know, might think I'm handsome. Who knows? But they do monitor everywhere that you go. Wherever there's a camera at, these cameras are now Wi-Fi enabled, and they have access to any and every camera everywhere, you know. And that is not, you know, something that, you know, you're delusional about. This is something that, you know, it's you know, known, you know, it's known. But yeah, I wanted to share that because you know, it needed to be shared, you know. See the importance of UAVs in securing America's borders. UAV pilots are among the federal government most valued professionals. They're amongst the most valued professionals. The ability of these aircrafts to clandestinely to secretly monitor long stretches of the border and approach terrorist or criminal bases of operation have made them ideal for CBP operation. The highly qualified pilots who operate these UAVs act as force multipliers, enabling limited national resources to be stretched further instead of devoting expensive surveillance systems across the long borders. UAV pilots are able to utilize this much more cost-effective system without sacrificing mission performance. Unlike other pilots in the Office of Air and Marine, UAV pilots enjoy the satisfaction of keeping the United States safe from threats originating abroad without having to put themselves or their partners in harm's way. Using agile aircraft that can gain critical intelligence or deliver ordnance to a threat location, UAV pilots ensure that greater effectiveness of America's border security forces. You know, so the UAV pilot job require operators able to perform the following tasks: monitor large areas of land, sea, and airspace, detect and track unauthorized vehicles, ships, aircrafts, or personnel until law enforcement personnel are able to interdict, recognize threats to national security and public safety, and activate defense protocols that neutralize them, operate sophisticated surveillance and detection equipment, cooperate with CBP and other federal personnel during an interdiction operation, obtain intelligence about terrorist or criminal activities localized to the U.S. borders, liaise with foreign governments, police agencies, personnel, and activity occurring on their territory. Monitor situational disposition of hostile individuals as CBP personnel move to engage. You know, they're using the border as a means to implement this particular technology as a means to control borders or to keep close observation on the borders. But this isn't restricted just to the U.S. borders. Again, these are jobs that are important as far as maintaining or having aerial surveillance, and this is something that we see. It is something that we see, and because they may not be that observed, they can be at a distance of even higher than planes, but they have a bird eye view of any and everything that happens on the ground. So you just wanted to share that because it was a topic that came up, and you wanted to elaborate on it. And not only that, you just recently saw the usage of drones in a particular movie about illegally surveilling the populace, trying to keep America safe. There's nothing wrong with keeping America safe, and creating safety for the general public, but it shouldn't be at the expense of privacy. It should, the privacy, and not only that, you should also be transparent in any and everything that you do. You shouldn't have secret programs that that is used to target particular individuals and subject them to unwarranted and unwarranted searches and the violations of their privacy. Each and every citizen, they should always have the same rights, regardless of what you deem them as, whether you call them a terrorist or you might think that they're terrorists. You shouldn't even I'm not going to say you shouldn't keep a close eye on them, but if they don't have an interest in bomb building and terrorist attacks, then you should focus your attention on other things. That's just your honest and humble opinion about certain things. But again, I just wanted to share that because it needed to be shared. So I hope that's information is relevant to certain people that was inquiring about surveillance, aerial and land surveillance, new technology in certain cameras that can be used to record and gather and gain information about a particular car's coming and going. And But again, don't allow certain, aspects of a particular program get you, out of character and disturb your peace. Peace is the overall thing you should maintain, especially in when confronted with war, because these are all war tactics, to gain and gather intel of what they consider or call an enemy. When you're an enemy of the state, like in the movie with Will Smith, you'll have all sorts of groups and agencies, believe that they're, or justifiably believe that you are a target, and the fear is something that they feed off of, and you don't never want to give, you want to starve them, you don't ever want to feed them, because the more you feed them, the more they hunger for it. And that's just my input on that. So again, hopefully that was relevant, and people find that information insightful. you know and if agencies, you know what I know, watch, hopefully y'all find that insightful as well. But yeah, I just wanted to share that. So peace.